Vancouver Island. I am Lisa and I am doing some planting with you tonight. Yesterday, if you watched my live stream, I did a really nice potato harvest really early in the season and I cleared space for so many more plants in the garden and I couldn't resist. I can't have all this open space in my vegetable garden, so I went shopping. We are also celebrating a little milestone that is very special to me, and that is my YouTube monetization. I haven't told a ton of people, but I can now make money from the ads on YouTube, and as of yesterday, I made a whole 4 cents, and I am so excited. I had to go and spend my 4 cents on plants. So let me show you what I got. It's quite late into the planting season in the stores here, so most of the stores have really picked over plant selections, but I found the clearance rack at a box store and this is what we got. We have a tomato plant. These were all $2.47 each. This one is called Brandywine, and yes, I have tomatoes in my garden already, but we're adding to the collection. We've got to add something to all the free space we cleared. So I don't have a Brandywine in my garden yet, so we're going to plant that. I didn't just buy tomatoes. I also bought a couple of squash plants. I had squash and have a few squash plants left from my milk jugs in the garden, but they're not doing well. They're struggling. Not that these are doing better, but they are doing better than the ones in my garden. So we're adding to the squash collection. I have 2 butternut honey baby squash plants. So that'll be an interesting one to try. 2 of these guys. We also have many more tomatoes. This one here is a red grape tomato. And again, these were all clearance plants. So I like that. $2.47 is not a bad price for vegetable starter plants on Vancouver Island. Typically, they're a lot more expensive. $3.99, $3.49, $4.99, $7.99. That's the going rate for most vegetable starter plants. Hello, Robert. Now we have a cherry tomato. This one, I love the name. This is called Midnight Snack, which I think is so cool. I've never grown this variety, so that'll be fun to try. And next we have another tomato. This is a cherry tomato, sweet 100 or sweet 100, not 1,000. So that'll be an interesting one to try. If you're new here, I went on a rampage in the clearance section at the Real Canadian Superstore. For anyone who's wondering what store was it, that's where these came from. $2.47, I believe, or was it? No, it was 74 cents. That's what it was on clearance. So I cleared space in the garden yesterday and now we're filling it. Why not? I had my mind open to whatever plants were available, and it was tomatoes and 2 squash plants. They had no peppers, sold out of most things, but that's what was left. And now I got this one. Now this actually does not have a plant tag, and I bought it anyways because I was really curious what variety it is. It's going to be a surprise, and I don't mind that at all. I love garden surprises. So, and to be honest, these plants are actually in really good health. Considering these are clearance, they're in pretty good shape. Some of them have dried out soil, but that's not a problem. I'm going to moisturize them, give them a little bit of my organic seaweed extract, and I bet you I can get some pretty lush growth on these pretty fast. Mulligan, I hate plants. Okay, well this might not be the stream for you. This is all about plants. Vlog.ca, hello, welcome to a Canadian Enchantress. Can I say how beautiful and soothing your voice is? Thank you so much, you're so kind. Next we have another cherry. Now this one, I love the name of this cherry tomato. This, no joke, is like a Disney character. It is literally called Cherry Tomato Rapunzel. Rapunzel, let down your hair. Check out the image. That is pretty much what the tomato is supposed to do. So that is super fun. I have never grown a Rapunzel tomato and I cannot wait. I could create all kinds of fun little memes with these tomatoes. I think this is going to be so good if it works out. And next we have, what do we have? The Leaning Tower of Tomatoes. This guy's got a significant lean, not a broken stem, but definitely leaning, very dry soil. And this one is a Slicer Tomato Early Girl. I don't have one of those in my garden this season, so we're gonna try that one out. And next we have another unknown variety. Slight wilt, but I'm not concerned about it. Very dry soil. We're going to moisturize the heck out of that. Doing great, Bumblebot. Thank you so much. And let's check out where we're going to plant. Now, yesterday when I did my potato harvest, I had an uninvited guest appeared on my live stream, and earlier today I was in this garden and the uninvited guest had returned. And if you're new here, I will let you know who this uninvited guest is, and it is a garden snake. And I don't like snakes. And let me tell you, it has made residence in this garden. We're gonna check if it's still hiding out. But I have a feeling, even if I don't see it, it's still here. I think it's moved in permanently, which is kind of unfortunate. Let's check out the snake hiding spot. I hope it's not. Oh, this is the backyard vegetable garden. I did my live stream yesterday, and where we found the uninvited hiding out was in this corner here. Now, I don't actually see it, and that doesn't mean it's not here. If you go back to my live stream later, you will see it absolutely was here. And it's almost more frightening to know that I don't see it right now. But we're going to get started on planting. I will show you where I intend to plant these tomatoes. Going very carefully because this creature could be anywhere. And there were two of them in here the other day. One at opposite ends of the garden. And I suspect they're still here. So we are being very careful with where we step. The cabbage is forming. It's so exciting. Is where I did my potato. And this is where we're going to put a few of the ones from today. I think the squash are going in here too. And I think we're going to get started. I'm going to bring over the tripod and set it up so we can see. There's a sunflower. And yeah, why not do some planting to celebrate my YouTube monetization? I've made a whole 4 cents on YouTube and I am so excited. And the garden space is available. So these plants need a new home and we are going. Hopefully Mr. Sneaky Friend is not in here. And I think I'm gonna take this tomato cage out. This is just kind of a, I mean, they might perk up. Maybe I'll give them another day. I don't know, but they're not looking good, these little bits of tomato. So I think we're just going to put them to rest. And I'm just setting you guys onto the tripod. We're gonna lower it down and then I'm gonna go get my stash of plants. Let's see here. Where should you sit? I think you need to go a little lower still. Okay, I'm going to get the plant tray. I'll be back in approximately 25 seconds. have my plants here. I brought the watering can, and I'm going to get my fertilizer. I don't always fertilize, but I am going to give these guys a little dose of organic fertilizer that is water soluble, and then we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, I am back and everybody has disappeared, and that is fine. The show must go on. So I have my two fertilizers here. These are actually, technically speaking, the same variety. So this is a seaweed extract from the company Green. I have used many versions of seaweed extract. I love this. This is the fertilizer that got me fertilizing. If you want to be really specific, it was actually this company here. These are the same types of fertilizer. I won this in a contest 10 years ago from a grocery store locally. It's a local company on Vancouver Island, seaweed extract. You can use this every day on your plants. It will never burn them, and the plants love them. And no, this is not sponsored. I've never been sponsored by anyone on YouTube. This is my love for fertilizer. I'll show you what it looks like. And by the way, this has no odor. It smells like nothing, pretty much. It is beautiful. I like to call it, I have a spoon here. I love to show this fertilizer off. I call it black gold. It is so beautiful. If you're wondering about the nutritional information, it contains 2% nitrogen, 2% phosphoric acid, 16% soluble potash, and 55% organic matter. Very good stuff, and the plants think it is exceptionally good food. And I have also used a more name brand version of this. This is from Green, and this basically contains potash, 17%. It is a 0017 if you're wondering, and the first one I showed you is a, does it say? Yes, it's a 2216. So technically they're labeled both as seaweed extracts, but the numbers are slightly different. They both are awesome for plants. You can't burn your plants with this fertilizer, and not a sponsored video, just a pure love for seaweed extract. I use it on my garden plants, my ornamentals, my vegetables, and my house plants. Everybody loves this stuff. Whether you buy local or you buy a big box company like Green, it is amazing. So we're going to add, to celebrate my little milestone on YouTube, we're going to give the plants a nice drink of fertilizer. I've got my watering can here, and I don't follow the instructions. I put a couple scoops in and it dissolves. It is water soluble, this fertilizer. And I'm going to put a little bit of each because Fart Sack Jack, hello, you're planting sweet leaf. I think you mean marijuana, and no, I am not planting marijuana tonight. I have a lot of tomatoes and a couple squash plants. This is a honey squash, honey nut, something like that. We'll look at them again in a minute. We're just adding some fertilizer to the watering can. Give these guys a nice drink of water. Hello, Christian Ramos. I'm on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada. Zone 7 to 9, depending on your perspective. And we are doing some planting. I'm going to start with some of these dehydrated looking tomatoes. The soil is super dry. These were clearance priced. You were just in raised beds and pots. Yes, I do have tomatoes in pots. This is technically a raised bed slash in-ground garden. Much higher than the ground level, but technically if you dig into the soil, it is native soil underneath. There's no landscaping fabric. There's no barrier between the top of the earth and the bottom of the earth. There, you could dig your hole to China, essentially. We have no barriers here. So I call it a hybrid garden. I don't know what most technical people would call it, but that's what I call it. Now, I am going to wear gloves this time. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. I don't like getting dirt in my nails. I know some people don't mind, but I really don't like to. I work in healthcare, and I like to have clean hands and nails, so that's why I wear gloves. So we're going to start with planting right here. Maybe I should move the camera a little bit so you can see better. Let's see here. These are the broken bits of non-rooted, oh, maybe it is rooted. No, I don't think so. Tomato that I put in after my harvest yesterday. We're probably going to chuck these because they sort of wilted. Let's just put in something that's going to survive. And this is exactly where the potatoes were going. And I'm not really amending with anything than those 2 water-soluble fertilizers. We're just using the soil that's already here. And we're going to get these guys planted. And what I'm going to do, although there's a decent amount of moisture here, this is bone dry. So we're going to add water directly to the hole before we put the plant in it, because I want to give it the best chance of survival. And we're going to add a decent amount of water. And now we're going to remove it from its container. You can see it's, well, I was going to say it's quite root bound. It is, but it's actually not hard to break up, surprisingly. So that is kind of interesting. Give it a bit of a tease and put it into the planting hole. And I will be putting tomato cages here, but I probably won't do that on the live stream. I'll probably do that in a garden tour, or it'll be already done off camera the next time you watch this channel. There's a potato left over. We're just going to move that out of the way, stick it somewhere else, and there is the first one planted. That was a no-name one, so it is a mystery plant. And I'm taking a square foot gardening approach this year, so we're planting everything pretty close together. And we're just going to see how things do. I have no idea if this is going to be good or bad or what the story is going to be, but I'm going to stick another one right here. I know it's close, but why not give it a try? The soil is so nice here from the potatoes. I hardly have to dig at all because I harvested them yesterday and it's still nice and, oh, check that out. What the heck? That's a huge bug. What is it? Is that like a termite? What the heck? Have I seen a bug like that before? It's gone, but that was crazy. I wonder what it was. It had like a long body and a long black shell. My first thought was earwig, but it was no earwig. That was something completely different. I don't know what it was. Very interesting. I'm going to put some water in that hole too. And we're going to put another one of these unknown dry looking tomatoes in this hole. I'm actually going to pluck off this leaf here. I don't think it needs that one. And let's get this one out of the container. This one is more root bound, I would say for sure. We're going to break it up somewhat. Tea in the water. No, it is my seaweed extract. 2 different varieties. One of the best fertilizers I feel like on the planet. It is so good for plants. You cannot burn them with it. And they just love it. I give it to pretty much all of my plants. My ornamentals, my vegetables, my fruit trees, my roses, my houseplants. They all get seaweed extract. It's such a good fertilizer. So 2 of them done, and we are going to get really creative, and we're putting squash plants, companion planting squash with tomatoes. We're going to see how this goes. So, in case you just joined in, this is the squash we're planting, squash butternut honey baby. So we'll see how it does. There's the plant. And I'm going to kind of put it in a little triangle here with the tomatoes. We will have the two here, and there's a squash plant going in here. See if they like each other or if they're not going to be good friends, these plants. And this one, I don't think it needs to go that deep for a squash. Oh, we've got some sticks still from my trench composting. Okay, add a little bit of water. And now we have our squash plant here. Oh, the roots feel pretty nice. They watered this one recently, not bad. Cover it up. Some stray green onions that I left to decompose. And I'm going to put my label in. So that one is done. A nice little trio we have here. And we're going to move a little further back and put another squash plant, I feel like right about here. Just out of the triangle zone. And this was still an area where there were potatoes yesterday. Ooh, oh, that's one of the rotten potatoes from yesterday. We're just going to put it aside. Put some water in the hole. Probably take seaweed from a lake and use it. Probably. I bet you it would have different micronutrients than the seaweed from the ocean. But I bet you it would be pretty good for the soil. I'm sure the plants would love that. It's not a bad idea. I don't know how available seaweed extract is in other areas of the world. You can also buy kelp meal here. And that's made both locally. We have like local companies that make it as well as like bigger box companies. And I don't know if places that are landlocked can do that or you can easily buy it, but it's definitely a good amendment for your garden. Same with sea soil. Sea soil is a little bit different than seaweed extract and kelp meal. But they're all amazing garden fertilizers. Plants just go bananas, and they're all organic, made with seaweed and kelp from the ocean. So if you're into organic gardening, definitely good fertilizers to try. We've got 4 of them planted, a few more to go. And that is what is left. And I'll see what else we can squeeze into this little corner here. Actually, no, we're going to migrate. I think. Maybe one more here, and then I have another location we can plant a few things. And so far, the snake creature has not appeared, and that makes me so happy. I didn't really want another guest appearance on this live stream, but if you do hear a yelling or a rustling, most likely that is the snake trying to make a cameo, and hopefully he doesn't show up. He is not invited onto this live stream, not intentionally anyways. So we're going to put one right here on the other side of the squash plant. Now the potatoes love this area, so I'm really curious if the tomatoes will. I've actually never planted this part of my garden with tomatoes before, so I'm super curious how they're going to do. They say, you know, in some gardening theory people, they say you should rotate your plants where you plant them. And I usually do that actually, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, but they usually ended up on some kind of rotation. This one is not root bound at all. That is awesome. Like was it $240? No, it was $274. That was the price I paid for each one of these plants. Clearance. And it's not even slightly root bound. That is a pretty amazing deal. Pretty healthy still. And I think the only reason they discount them is because it's already the end of June and not as many people plant at this time of year. Most people have already done their gardens. That is the Sweet 100 cherry tomato we just planted. Well, I think on Vancouver Island, a lot of people do their planting in May, actually. And now that we're in the end of June, not as many people are interested in planting. Most of them are done already, so the stores have to sell out their vegetable crops. So this is what we just planted. I'm going to move my foot out of the way so you can kind of see better. And we have a few more, and I think we're going to journey to the other side of the garden and put a few over there. I'll show you what's happening over there. The soil won't be as beautiful for digging, but that's okay. We can work with it. So in this region, I have a lot of stuff to pull out. I've got some stuff that has gone to seed. In the middle, I'm not pulling these. These are honeydew melons, just planted a few weeks ago. They're doing okay. It's been a little colder than I expected, but they're seemingly fine in this location, right by the pipe, which I fill with water on the dry days to water. Where am I? I am in Nanaimo, actually, mid-Vancouver Island, central, depending on how you look at it. That's where I am, in the south end. So I'm going to bring my plants over here. We're going to be planting kind of in this dirt area where you see a little bit of debris, but mostly clear. That's where they're going. Latin A, you grow blueberries. Is Latin A here? Welcome, Latin. If you're here and I missed you, welcome to my backyard garden. You must be here, but I don't see your comment. I'm not actually sure how to scroll in the live stream. I'm still really quite new to live streaming, actually. And I'll tell you why I started live streaming. Well, I had multiple reasons for starting, but one of the reasons I started live streaming more often on YouTube, I started out making the edited versions, like the long form videos. I go to the farm outside of town to pick blueberries myself with family. That is awesome. I started doing more live streams instead of edited videos because when you look at your YouTube analytics, when you're a YouTuber or a content creator, it gives you all kinds of information. And what I've noticed after making hundreds of videos on YouTube, my retention, which is how long a person watches an individual video for, is poor. In general, the average retention on my channel is anywhere from 2.5 to 3 minutes, or 3 minutes and 30 seconds sometimes. So that's not very good for a YouTube video. But when I make a live stream, the average retention is anywhere from, I'm going to say 4 minutes to 12 minutes, which you might think is not very good, but for me, it's actually outstanding. My live streams get quite a few views and the retention is awesome, tons of engagement, and that is why I do lots of live streams now. My land is clay, not great for blueberries. My land is, that sucks. I wish you could grow blueberries, but I think I've said this before. I don't know if you were around for it, Latin. Blueberries love water. That is the number one thing they love. So if you can't give them a lot of water, they're not going to do very well, unfortunately. But it is the nature of growing blueberries. So we have my little tool here. And I'm going to get my watering can back. Oh no, what? I didn't realize I brought both of my watering cans here. Okay, we are not bringing the watering can back. We're gonna start digging. Now, I actually did put tiny little tomatoes in here. Let's see if they're alive. Well, I guess this one is, and this one is. These were from my milk jugs, and there's a squash plant from my milk jug. They're alive, but they're so tiny, and they're not doing amazing, so that's why I have some extras too. Lots of weeds. We're gonna start randomly pulling weeds, but my milk jugs did somewhat okay, but the weather has been really wild this spring. Go from summertime temperatures to early spring and then back again like 5 times the spring. So it's been a lot of fluctuations, and the plants don't like that. Some of them like it more than others, but it's been kind of a wild spring in the weather world. So that is okay. I think you just have to adapt to the changing weather conditions. There's nothing else you can do, really. Bucket grow, Latinate. Well, that is possible. You know what I'm wondering, Latin and fart sack Jack? I don't know the answer to this, but I'm wondering if people have attempted to grow blueberries hydroponically. Now, this would actually be an interesting question for Mike's Chaotic Gardening and GT Junior Grows It Alaska. Those two gardeners on YouTube are hardcore into hydroponics. I don't recall seeing them grow blueberries hydroponically, but I almost want to challenge them to do that because I think that would be such a cool challenge. Who can grow blueberries hydroponically? I'm not going to do that myself because I do have blueberry plants. I'll give you a quick little intermission from my tomato planting and show you some of my blueberries. They're finally rebounding this year. They had a few poor seasons, but they are decent amount of blueberries on here. They're not ripe yet, but they're getting there. I'll show you one or two more blueberry plants. This one doesn't have as many. This is what I call my confused blueberry plant. It has a few, but I'll show you my most abundant one. Oh, you do make your own soil. I have compost bins and even got one that spins that I got for free on the side of the road. Very nice. Do you know who cool Kruter guy in Arizona knows his? I've heard of that. I'm not sure if you're talking to Latin. I personally don't do that, but I have heard of it. These are some of my more abundant blueberries here. And they're doing okay. But I have to say, blueberries absolutely love water. That is their number one thing that they like. Aside from acidic soil, water is probably the number one most important thing with growing blueberries. Maybe even more than the full sun for 6 or 7 hours a day. They absolutely love water blueberries. We'll get back to the planting here of these tomatoes. So for this one, which is like a leaning tower of Pisa pretty much, this is a slicer tomato. Tar Baby Yoda, are you fart sad Jack? Yeah, ding. How much land do I have? I have 8,000 square feet, including the area where the house is built. So I have no idea how much actual garden square footage there is. It's a pretty big house, so I don't really know what that would be. I'm going to estimate, like, if it's 8,000 square feet of land, it's probably like 6,000 square foot of garden, maybe. I really don't know. And again, if you do your conversions in the American system, I don't know if you use square footage down there, but I probably wouldn't be able to convert it to anything else because I just don't know the other measurement systems. I'm not familiar, so that is the Canadian way of measuring land size. I don't know if you guys do it differently in the United States. Seems bigger, probably because your house is a 2-story. Probably correct. We live in a flipping townhouse over 20 years. Oh, you can have a container garden. Lots of people do container gardening. There's nothing wrong with that. I have a few containers. I'm not an expert at container gardening, but I do have some stuff in containers. There is nothing wrong with it. And if you're doing containers, highly recommend grow bags. I got these on Amazon and I love them. I absolutely love them. Way better than real containers. I have real containers, but there's two main benefits to grow bags that I see, maybe even more than that. One is that they have really good drainage. I find containers sometimes have drainage problems. My grow bags have never had a drainage problem. They don't have holes in them, but they're slightly permeable, which is awesome. Number two, they are quite lightweight. So like a container, whether it's plastic or ceramic or some other material, containers can be very, very heavy, especially when they're full of dirt. The dirt is wet, they've got plants in them. a grow bag is so lightweight. Think about a reusable shopping bag. I don't know how big they are in the United States. Huge in Canada. You can't even get plastic bags here anymore. It is kind of bonkers. We only get, the stores sell reusable bags and you literally cannot buy plastic here. It's crazy. But anyways, in terms of lightweight, the grow bags are so lightweight and super easy to store. So if you don't want them outside in the wintertime, you can put them in a garage or a shed or even a closet in your house. They don't take up much space because they're so small, and you can put them together with each other. Hello from Qualicum. Just found your channel to learn more about island gardening. First season. Welcome. Welcome to a Vancouver Islander. My name is Lisa and I am in Nanaimo. We are about 30 to 40 minutes apart. I'm in the far south of Nanaimo. So that's where my Vancouver Island garden is. And we're planting tomatoes. And in case you're wondering, Superstore Nanaimo, if you're planting a garden, has an awesome sale right now. I don't work for Superstore, but they were I want to say $74 each. And these are the tomato plants we are planting. I planted a bunch already, and squash. They have quite a few left. So if you go in the next couple days and you're looking for tomatoes, you'll probably still get them. And $2.74 or 47, whatever I said, is actually an awesome buy for these plants. They are usually much more expensive. So if you're looking to plant, get them while they're available. And they don't look bad. Like, I'll show you again. These are pretty good looking plants. So just a little public service announcement for anyone who's local. There is one here. There's my squash plant again. And I feel like I should plant one right sort of, well, actually, maybe I'm going to pull those and put one in there. Because these are, I can't remember if these were radishes or parsnips. I planted something here, but it didn't really do well. And we're just going to pull them out. Yeah, it didn't really do what I wanted it to do this season, so even my peas have had a weird growing season. I've had a few peas. You can see some on the vine. But overall, the peas haven't had a great season. It's just been so weird this year. So we're getting rid of this. I can't remember if it's parsnips or radishes. Whatever it is, we're tossing it in the compost. There's my honeydew melons. They're doing okay. And I'm going to put a few more tomatoes in here. I have a soaker hose right here, which has been a game changer in the garden. I've had this for, I'm going to say like 5 or 6 years. In the beginning, I didn't have a watering system. I did overhead watering and sprinkler watering, and it was very not well done. And now the soaker hose has changed the way the garden grows. It is so effective at watering. Occasionally, I do still hand water. Don't use any sprinklers, nothing like that. But soaker hoses are awesome. This was a Home Depot kit. I don't remember the cost. I'm going to say maybe $40. And it's a grid system. And I didn't install it. Full disclosure, I have a very handyman dad who is pretty much like the Mike Holmes that you see on television, or used to be on television, who's a very handy guy. He installed it for me. So I didn't do that. But I couldn't give you a tutorial on how to do it. But it was good value, and it was definitely worth it for how the plants produced to put in a soaker hose grid system in the garden. I would definitely do this again in a future garden. If there is another garden in the future soon, there will be more soaker hoses. So this is a pile of debris I just created from these weeds and plants that we removed. And I'm not necessarily going to keep this in the garden because I am kind of tired of the snakes visiting. If you're new here, I did a live stream yesterday and I had an uninvited guest, and it was a snake. And when I started checking out the garden today, that same snake was in a similar location, and I wasn't too pleased about it. We're actually on the opposite end of the garden to where the snake was hanging out, so hopefully it doesn't come over here. Definitely not invited onto this live stream. I mean, I would never harm a creature like a snake intentionally. I'm not going to mow it with a lawnmower or weed whack it or anything like that. But I would definitely rather it didn't come to visit. I don't need those visitors. If the lizard wants to come, great, but not the snake. So we are going to move this debris. It will eventually end up in the compost. And now we have a nice spot close to the honeydew for some more tomatoes. And I've lost my tool, but we're going to use a hand for digging. You're switching my lettuce and spinach garden to peppers and eggplants. It's been a really cool season. It absolutely has. It's been so wildly weird, our weather. And the plants have been definitely responding in different ways than expected. So I'm going to add some water to my planting hole to really hydrate these roots. And I think we're going to put in another really dehydrated looking tomato plant. The soil looks dehydrated. The plant is okay. This is the Brandywine one. I don't have any of these in the garden yet, so that'll be interesting. I think I did grow this before in a previous season. It's not too root bound, like a little bit, but not bad really. Tease the roots a little bit, put it in the hole. Cover it up. And I am going to keep my tag just for remembering what variety it is. Stick it in. And that one is done. So how many do we have left? We have 3 more to plant this evening. And where should we plant? Oh my goodness, this is a hot mess what we have here. It is like buttercup. Buttercup is the #1 weed in my garden. I don't mind the flowers, but it takes over the whole garden. So I think I might try to pull. I lost honeydew melon start. It's on my list to replace. Okay. I didn't see any. Today I went to Superstore in Nanaimo and I went to Walmart, but their garden center was closed. And I also went to, where did I go? Home Depot. Home Depot, I believe, if I remember correctly, had cantaloupes. Quite a few cantaloupes, but I didn't see any honeydew melons or watermelons. They had tomatoes, cantaloupes, and lots of hot spicy peppers, but I wasn't really interested in those plants. So I'm not sure where you're going to find the honeydew, but there could still be some out there in the local stores or maybe on Facebook Marketplace, something like that. I think a lot of stores at this time seem to be getting picked over the nurseries, which makes sense. I mean, a lot of people are done their planting already in this area of the world. So we're just clearing space along the soaker hose to put in another 1 or 2 tomato plants here. I don't know if I'll put all 3 here, but maybe. Hello, CR. Welcome. Anyone who's new, CR is a fellow content creator on YouTube and is Canadian, who is very secret about his location. Somewhere in Western Canada, but very rarely does he disclose his location. I have yet to figure out exactly where he's located. And he is gardening. He likes to grow sunflowers and possibly other plants. I'm not sure. Definitely sunflowers. So we are going to put in another tomato plant along, well, I guess I actually have 2 soaker hoses here now that I'm looking at this more carefully. Part of the grid system. And maybe I'm going to put one in between. That might be a good plan. They might get really well moisturized if I put it kind of in this section here. I think that's what we're going to do. So we have this one here. This one I'm so excited about. This is called Rapunzel. Now, if this grows like the picture, I am going to be in like Disney character garden heaven. I might even have to do a special video about this tomato. It is so cool. I have never grown a tomato called Rapunzel before, but I love the concept of it. get it buried in. I guess I didn't add water to the hole, but I will put some on the surface. I know I did that for the other ones. I put them underneath, but we'll put it on the surface for this one. And yeah, I guess I have 2 more to plant. I think, oh yeah, chives are on the opposite side of the buttercup mess I've got here, mixed with kale that is flowering. I think we're going to pull a little bit more of this out, just try to utilize the space a little more effectively instead of having like a whole section that is underutilized. That is not my goal this season. My goal is to really use the space that I have more effectively. So we're just going to pull out a little more debris here and get this tomato planted in this section. That's why I'm here for this. Ha 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 ha. CR is very pun. He loves to use puns and is a little bit poetic, I feel like. A lot of gardening puns too, I must add. Oh, there's a stray potato. That was probably from last season. I did not harvest potatoes here yesterday. This is a totally different quadrant of the garden. So that is kind of interesting. It didn't grow a plant, but it's still in the ground. So let's get this guy planted. The next one we're planting is the red grape tomato. I don't have any of this variety yet, so we're going to get them planted. Put a little, no, I'll do the water after. Why not? Not super root bound. Sneaky spuds. Yes, indeed. Night. If you, at the end of this live stream, if you're interested, I did a live stream last night on my potato harvest. I had a shocking potato harvest yesterday. I wanted to make space in the garden because I have more tomato plants from my house that I was growing, planted on the opposite side of the garden. And the potatoes were overtaking them. And I didn't know how the harvest was going to go because it's still so early in the growing season, but I was shocked what I harvested yesterday. You can check it out later. They even grow in my compost bin. Well, that is interesting. I haven't had them growing in my compost bin yet, but I'm sure the possibility exists. Let's give this guy a little water, more water here, and then we have one spud, not a spud, we have one tomato left to plant. Here we go. Where should we put this one? I think I'm squishing these little baby tomatoes over here. Maybe not, almost squishing them. I think I should put it over in this region here somewhere. Oh, maybe not. There's squash here. Where else should I put it? I have corn and onions kind of in the middle there. Honeydew here. Stray garlics everywhere. There's some poppy. Oh, it's not a poppy. It's a kale plant. Gone wild. Where should I put the last tomato? I think we're going to venture out of the garden and put it in the landscape. I have a few tomatoes in the landscape for the first time. You planted potatoes in late April to early May. Should I think about harvesting soon or wait for more? Well, if you watch the video, I kind of explained why I harvested the ones I harvested, because they were like monster potatoes. Now, I have some I planted like, I want to say February, and some even in the fall, and these ones are not monsters. I'll show you what's happening here. These are my earliest planted potatoes. I didn't pull these out. They are not close to being harvested. But if we come in this section where we did this planting earlier, this was all potatoes yesterday. If you watch the live stream, I left a few of them in. Now, check this out. This is we're almost up to my hips. That's how tall these are. And the ones I pulled out, I'm going to say were even taller than this. So this was kind of a potato jungle, and that's why I harvested. I've never seen potatoes grow like this, and not at this time of the year. So you have to kind of use your own judgment. They were flowering, the ones I pulled out, most of them. So if you think your potatoes are gone wild, they might be ready for harvesting. But if they're still small, like the ones I have over here, then I probably wouldn't harvest them yet. Give them more time, or you might be a little disappointed. I do have a few more here. I have them scattered in the garden, but yeah, you got to use your judgment and see. If there's no flowers, it's probably too early. Yeah, I would definitely wait a little bit longer. My garlic has gone wild too. I have been eating and harvesting some of it early because I have well over 70 cloves this season, maybe even 100. And I've learned that you can eat the greens if you don't wait for them to mature. You don't necessarily want that many cloves of garlic. This is all edible before it dries up. Before the scapes are formed, you can eat the greens, and they are delicious. Put them in a salad, put them in a spaghetti, chow mein, put them in your eggs in the morning. So good and so nutritious. So if you don't want all the garlic as a clove, eat your greens. There will still be a clove. It's going to be smaller than if you waited to maturity, but it is still worth eating. You don't necessarily have to get all the cloves at maturity. So back to the tomatoes. We are going out to another region of the garden for the last tomato to plant. Oh shoot. Uh-oh, I just stepped in the mud. Where did I put my plant now? Oh, maybe did I plant them all and I didn't realize it? What is going on? Oh, nope, there it is. There it is. It's hiding. Okay, I'm bringing a tool and the plant, the camera, and the watering can. And we're going on a little field trip to another corner of the garden. Finally, things are starting to flower. Yes! It is so nice that we are starting to have warmer weather. We're supposed to get a little bit of a heat wave in the end part of the week, up to 29, 30 degrees on Vancouver Island by about Friday, I think, this week. So that is exciting. So I'm experimenting this season with planting plants outside of the vegetable garden that are vegetables. First time ever. We have a tomato mixed with all these ornamentals. This is a rock rose. We've got autumn joy sedum, foxgloves. Tomato in here. I think this is a watermelon, if I remember right, from my milk jugs here. And I think I'm going to take out this dying palm tree. It was a last ditch effort. I think it is, well, is it dead? I don't know, but it's coming out. It's lived its best life, and it is on the rocks now. We're getting rid of it. We're going to put this tomato plant in here right beside my pink knockout roses. And in case you're wondering, and you may not know this, rose flowers are edible. Do your own research if you plan on sampling flowers, but rose flowers are actually edible. And many of them are delicious. Fun fact, let's go back to the planting. So I think I'm going to dig just a wee bit deeper. Oh, it's actually not a bad size hole from the palm tree. Put in some water. Thank you for the conversion, CR. I do not have the ability to do that in my brain. And I know, according to my analytics, approximately 86% of my viewers are Americans. So that is very helpful. Thank you very much. So we've got the tomato plant here, and this one is Cherry Midnight Snack. Sounds like a very interesting name. I don't know what variety the one is over here. So I just wanted to give this tomato a companion for flowering purposes. So it wasn't too far away from the rest of the tomatoes. So we're gonna put it in here. Wow, this is not even slightly root bound. In fact, it has pretty small root system. I'm sure it's fine, but wow, that is really interesting. I am very shocked by that. And just get it into the soil. Put the tag in. I'm going to give it another little drink of water. And that is my little celebration. If you missed the beginning of the live stream, I am celebrating two things today. I will let you know that I am super excited because I finally got monetized on YouTube. I made a total of 4 cents yesterday and I couldn't help but celebrate and buy some more plants for my garden. I've been waiting 3 years, almost 3 years, to get monetized on YouTube, so I am over the moon excited. Did my grow foxgloves from seeds? I want to tell you about these foxgloves. Yes, but not the way you expect. There's a story behind these foxgloves, and that is, I say about 6 or 7 years ago, I went to a yard sale on Vancouver Island, and I found what I believe was the lottery jackpot in the gardening world. It was a giant bin. I'm actually going to show you the bin. I still have it. And it was full of seeds, like no joke. Probably, I don't know, hundreds, if not thousands of seed packages. Expired, but that didn't really bother me. I'll show you what the bin looks like. It was in here. And if you think of how big a seed package is, it was literally full to the top with seeds. And I have never seen anything like it in my life. I don't know how this obtained so many seeds. And they basically said $5. $5 for the whole bin of seeds. And I was like, my eyes were like gonna pop out of their head. It was like one of those moments where it's like, start the car. You have to get out of here ASAP. I was like, of course I'm gonna buy it. So I bought it for $5. I had thousands of seeds. I was stuck for hours and hours and hours and sorting seeds. So most of them were from a company, thank you so much, called Renee's Garden. Bad mouthing any company. There were other companies, but most of them were from Renee's Garden. And what I found, I did give a lot of seeds away, but I kept a lot of them. It was about 60% flower seeds and 40% vegetable seeds. Lots of rare varieties, but the interesting thing about this batch of seeds is there were so many mislabeled packages. So I went around the whole garden. I have a rock garden full of wildflowers and other cut flowers, and I put seeds everywhere. Now, there were not foxglove seeds in this mix. I suspect the foxgloves were actually labeled Bells of Ireland. I don't know for sure, but that is my most likely theory because I didn't plant foxgloves, but they came from those seeds. And they started right here on this side of the fence in the first season. That is what you see here. And they migrated into the other side of the fence. I actually have a whole foxglove video. I don't have many left over there, but they self-seed every season. I'll give you a little pop over the fence very gently. Do we see the foxgloves? Yeah, you see them in the distance. There's only a few this season. But there used to be lots of them, but every year it's different. Sometimes I have lots of daisies, sometimes I have foxgloves. I don't plant those. Those all come back on their own, so I never know what's going to grow there. But that is the story of how the foxgloves came to be. I believe they were mislabeled in the seed package, most likely from Renee's seeds. I have nothing against Renee's seeds, but I have to say that was not the only surprise that I got from that seed company. Very, very odd. And I have to wonder if it was a disgruntled seed worker in the company that did that. I don't know, but that is my best theory. Okay, congrats, thank you. I would like to see that here. I like that, CR. What plant do I have? I was planting tomatoes right now, and I was just telling the story about the foxglove. Somebody was asking about my foxglove seedlings. And I have to say, I don't know if this is unique to my garden or if this is the same in all gardens, but ever since these foxgloves started to grow, they literally grow like weeds. Like literally, I want to show you a few more places in my garden because I didn't plant any of these and they are literally all over my entire garden now. Front yard, backyard, side yard, like they literally grow like weeds. They're the most beautiful weeds and the bees love them. But I never ever planted these. I mean, other than those mislabeled seeds, they just go everywhere. If you let them go to seed, you will have flowers more than you could ever want. And I literally pull them out as weeds in my gravel because I get way too many of them. But they are beautiful. And they're starting now in this region of the garden for the first season. They're now almost done their first bloom, but really pretty. I tried growing sage from seed, but I think I also got some weird plant that wasn't growing like sage. I had to get sage starts in the end. Yeah, I have noticed that. Definitely sometimes you get mislabeled seeds in the package, and sometimes you also get mislabeled nursery plants. I'll show you some of my roses. When I started this garden 10 years ago-ish, I really wanted red flowers in the garden to match the blue trim on the house. And I tried so hard and I found either my soil is too acidic or there were so many mislabeled nursery plants. These roses were supposed to be red and they are not red. They are fuchsia pink. And same over here. These roses, which are actually a slightly different variety, were also supposed to be red and they are pink. And this one over here wasn't supposed to be red. It was supposed to be white. And I sort of wanted a red and white theme. This is the color I got. It is the same rose on the label, but it is definitely not white. So there are lots and lots of plants that either get mislabeled or the soil does funky things and changes the colors of them. So thank you all so much for joining me on my little tomato and squash planting journey. I think I'm going to end the live stream. The mosquitoes are trying to eat me alive. I don't know what time it is. I think that, oh, it's 8:30 already. Holy smokes. And we'll see you soon. I don't know when I'm going to do my next live stream. Probably soon. I seem to do them pretty often. I hope you guys get into your gardens, do some planting, and we'll see you in another video really soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me.